Welcome once again to Retire Smart Maryland with Prashant, Sabapathi, Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. We like to talk about retirement planning for folks here right in Maryland. And today's program is really interesting, I thought. Both of you wanted to put together a wealth and health program for retirement. Obviously, we know as we get older, we're not going to get any healthier than we are, right? So we need to take these things into account. But Nick, you also said you wanted to talk about how it applies to our wealth and keeping our wealth, I guess, healthy all the way through retirement. So what does exactly a financial checkup mean to you?
So, just like your health, I mean, it's a great point. And Prashant always talks about his family. He's from a family of doctors, but your financial situation is no different than your health, right? You need to put in a regular checkup to make sure that everything is running on track. So, what does that include? There's endless talking points with that. You got to make sure your income is on track. Are you prepared for taxes? Are you prepared? Are your beneficiaries set up properly? So there's a number of different things that we can address over time, and you shouldn't just set things and never touch them again.
And to me, I think it comes back to like almost getting a second opinion, right? So anytime you get a diagnosis, maybe you go to another person and get a second opinion from another doc. And why should your finances be any different? Maybe you're already working with an advisor, and that's great to be working with someone, but it never hurts to get a second opinion and to really have a concrete written plan in place. That's what it means to me, is we don't really have some security with our financial health unless we have a real written plan that we can rely on when things get difficult.
Yeah, so are you the bad egg of the family? You got a whole family of physicians and you became this founder of a financial advisory firm? But in that world, it's okay to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
There's no doctor who's offended by saying, great, I appreciate the advice you're getting, but I need to go get a second opinion. It seems like in financial services, we don't do that quite as much.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And in the medical world, it's almost, it's common nature to do that kind of stuff. But I think what it comes down to is you got to be working with a specialist, right? So, a lot of times people come to us and they already have advisors in place, but that advisor has been helping them accumulate money. And when they get to retirement, the strategy has to change a little bit. It's no longer about accumulation. It's about distribution. It's about making sure that your income is going to last the rest of your lifetime and that your money is going to last until the day that you die. So that kind of goes into the financial checkup. But Nick said it, beneficiary planning, wills, trusts, estate planning, making sure we have an efficient transfer of wealth. That's what really goes into that financial checkup.
Well, and Nick, I wanted to ask you about that as we go through kind of discovering and uncovering what people have. Why are beneficiaries, such a big deal in the financial checkup?
So beneficiaries are important because that determines who receives your money when you pass away. So you may have put together a great estate plan, you have a will or a trust or what have you, but if you haven't taken the time to add that information to your beneficiary document that is with the company who holds your money, then you may not have done all that you needed to do. In fact, the Supreme Court ruled many years ago, they ruled unanimously that whatever document is on file with that insurance company, with your 401k provider, whatever it might be, IRA, that document, whoever you name, could be your ex-wife, could be a daughter or a son that's grown out of favor in your family, because all these things happen. But if it's not who you want to receive your money, then you should review that on a regular basis. Life changes very quickly.
Right. And so on a regular basis, what do you think? Every couple of years or so, as your family changes?
Yeah, family changes. If there's a birth in the family, a new son-in-law, if there's, a death in the family, any occasion that is a big momentous change.
And I'll say it for you. I'll be very clear about it. If you've gone through a divorce,
yeah, absolutely,
please review your beneficiary designations because there's a lot of changing family dynamics. And when those divorce papers go through, if something happens to you, if you haven't changed those beneficiary designations, it's going to go back to your former spouse. Creates a big
we've seen that.
Yeah,
we've seen that, unfortunately.
And think about those like old 401k plans that you have. I mean, the average person is switching jobs something like 10 or 11 times now before they even get to retirement. So maybe you have an old 401k that you haven't looked at in years. Maybe it's an old life insurance policy that you got, back in the 80s or 90s or whenever it was. You might have never reviewed the beneficiary document on that. And so that goes into the checkup. Another thing, when we talk about this health and wealth checkup, as financial advisors, I always kind of think about when I go to the doctor, what do? They take the blood pressure.
I was going to say the basics. Your blood pressure, your weight, has anything changed? Are you eating? Are you sleeping? So what are your basics?
So I think one really easy one that just takes a little bit of time and not a whole heck of a lot of effort to figure out is, what about our monthly expenses? Like when you retire, you need to have an understanding of what your expenses are going to be. How can you plan for something if you don't know what your spending is going to be? Just like if you don't know that you have high blood pressure, how are you supposed to fix it, right? And so same type of thing here. I would start by mapping out what your expenses are going to look like, and then start to create a comprehensive plan for how you're going to make sure that you have enough income to live the way that you want to.
Right. And your basics.
Yeah, and we all want to retire at some point. It's not the fun that we want to plan for, retirement, but we would rather plan for a big vacation around the globe, whatever. But you need to know what your expenses, whether it's healthcare, whether it's long-term care expenses, how you're going to distribute assets from your retirement to cover these expenses. And most people that we sit down initially, when we say, well, how much do you think you need? We get a blank stare. Yeah. So it's important to put together a spending plan to know how much you're going to need, and then let us help you navigate through the rest of them.
Three major basics, Spike, that I come back to is, we talked about expenses. Another one is you got to understand portfolio risk. Okay, the last thing you want is you saved $1 million, you worked your entire life to save this $1 million, and right before you retire, we go through a year like we've been going through this year, and now your million's worth $650,000. You just can't afford for stuff like that to happen when there's this much at stake. So you got to understand diversification and portfolio risk. You got to understand expenses. And the last thing is you have to understand taxes, and it needs to be packaged in a comprehensive written plan, okay? When people say, oh, yeah, I have a plan in my head, I know what's going on, that's not a real plan. Not to us anyway. So that's what I think goes into that financial checkup, having a written plan that coordinates all these types of things. And this is what we help folks with every single day, and we do it in what we call our Retire Smart Roadmap. And that roadmap is going to help you address some of the basics to make sure that your health and wealth is in good standing, and that you're really heading for the retirement that you deserve. And so it really starts with you picking up the phone and giving us a call. The phone number is 833-308-5200. And if you give us a call, you can schedule a time to meet with Nick, myself, and our team at Elite Income Advisors, and we're going to take you through our process and help you put that Retire Smart Roadmap together, which will allow you to understand where you stand for retirement by doing a Social Security analysis, an income for life report, a tax analysis, a risk analysis, and a legacy transfer. But it starts with you picking up the phone and scheduling that visit with us. Totally complimentary. We just opened a brand new office right off of Route 100 by the Expectation and the Victoria Gastropub. So come in and visit with us.
Nick, Prashant, while we're talking today about wealth and health, I want to talk about actual health and health solutions that you also look at in retirement when we get back after this. Folks, call the phone number you see right here, or use the QR code that you see on the screen. Open up to your camera. When it comes up, the website on there, click on it, and it'll go right over to the website, and you can start your own 60-minute consultation meeting appointment, scheduling it yourself right there from your phone right now. Or if you need a little bit of time and want to think about it, want to call the fellas here, schedule an appointment a little bit further out, call 833-308-5200. More Retire Smart Maryland with Prashant and Nick right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland with Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. They are of Elite Income Advisors right here in Maryland, and we're talking again about retirement planning solutions, but more so your wealth and your health. And how do we get that financial checkup to make sure that we can be and stay retired? But the wealth and health program, I'll bring it back to, are you talking here about life insurance in retirement, or are we talking about our health needs?
There's a lot of important insurances, but health insurance is something, again, an expense that a lot of people don't take into account when they're getting ready to retire. So, we have people come in, I want to retire as soon as possible, but not considering, one, how soon can they access their retirement accounts, but when do they qualify for Medicare, as an example. So if I retire at 62, I may start Social Security, but don't have access to Medicare until I'm 65. So it's important to work with specialists, and we do in fact have a Medicare specialist in our office that is, prepared to help our clients as well with all that.
It's so interesting with Medicare. I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, because Medicare is just so complicated these days. And a lot of times people make their Medicare decision by just watching a TV commercial and saying, oh, well, I saw that guy on TV and he was talking about Medicare. Maybe I should just call and buy a plan over the phone. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, there's so many options out there between your Part A, Part B supplement. Do you have Medicare Advantage? I mean, it's just like a huge jumble. And so that's why we actually brought on in-house Medicare consultants to be able to sit down with a real human being and actually look at your options A to Z, okay? And then from there, just like when we put the Retire Smart roadmap together, it's completely customizable for what you want to accomplish. Your Medicare, your Social Security strategy, all of that should be intercoordinated. Absolutely.
Right. And Nick, and part of this is that we review this every single year. We see the commercials as well about those enrollment periods, and you're getting mailers and stuff all the time. So you kind of compare what you did last year and see, was that effective for you? Do we need to cut it down or add to the coverage?
Yeah, it's not unlike when we're working. Every year there's an open enrollment period. It's my least favorite thing to deal with in the office, but it is something that we all have the choice of reviewing on an annual basis. You're right. Did it fit for my needs? Did I use it more than I thought? Did I need to fill in a gap there? So it's important to review that. Your health, your wealth, all of those things go hand in hand. It's very important.
It's almost like if you needed like a knee surgery and your doctor said, well, we're not going to look at your medical history before doing the surgery. I mean, how silly would that be? You would never do that, okay? You would switch doctors immediately, right? Why would you do anything different when it comes to your financial situation? You got to evaluate what's taken place and then plan for the future using using all the information that we have.
Right. And then along with the Medicare needs, then there's a lot of confusion out there. I think a lot of folks, especially in their 40s or 50s, think that Medicare and so forth is going to cover their long-term care. So we're looking at our wealth and health. That's separate from Medicare.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of confusion about what's Medicare, what's Medicaid, does it cover my long-term care? So there's a lack of information that is easy to digest. And again, that's why we consider ourselves educators. Long-term care insurance is a completely different animal. And long-term care just covers if you get sick, you have like Alzheimer's, a Parkinson's. And I personally have experience with that in my family. My grandfather had Parkinson's disease. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's disease, and my mother currently has Parkinson's disease. So it's near and dear to my heart to protect and plan for these and to make sure that people understand why you might need it. Put the risk of whether or not you need that coverage on the insurance company, but it's all about having a plan and making sure that those costs are covered.
And Nick, considering those, especially those afflictions that you were talking about in your own family, this isn't just something that happened in their 80s or 90s. This is something that happened much earlier in their life, I'm guessing.
Yeah, my mom is 77. She was diagnosed about 6 years ago, so she's fairly young, and you mentioned knee surgery. I mean, she just had knee surgery recently, but that adds to the impact of her Parkinson's, experience, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, people are getting. Michael J. Fox was really young. So unfortunately, things are more prevalent, and it makes it important to plan
and
for
it's
it.
expensive. I mean, my mother was diagnosed with dementia when she was 57 years old, okay? And we're, 7 years into this thing now? And you're talking about in-home nursing, you're talking about skilled nursing, you're talking about, updating your home to make it a little bit more, accessible and things like that. And those are huge expenses that I think people just don't think about, not because, for any reason other than the fact that you just don't know what you don't know. And so that's why when you have a real plan, when you have a roadmap that you can count on, when you have specialists that can help you identify these things because of personal experience and dealing with our own clients, I think it's incredibly valuable to give you some peace of mind. And that's where the process starts. It really starts with having a conversation.
I'm just curious, are your personal experiences part of why you have grouped together to create Elite Income Advisors? I mean, I'm guessing that some of the family experience has to be why.
Well, absolutely. I think so. I mean, in addition to, you want to go to work, you want to be able to help people, you want to work with people that you like, okay? So, Nick, I think we're on the same page there. But it absolutely has to do with it, because I think that's what makes us better advisors. Is you've been through it, I'm going through it, you're going through it, Ozzy's been through it as well. And so, we can draw on those experiences.
I think with the three of us sitting at this table, I also expressed it before, I've got two grandmothers who've lived into their 90s. They've both moved into care needs, and the costs of that, anywhere between $6,700 and the other was $8,200 a month. And we're needing to plan for this. So the conversation, it isn't just about what's happening right now. What can happen 20 to 30 years
and you even shared with us, in the break, that it's not like they were unprepared for retirement. It's just you never planned to be in a long-term care facility for 6 years or 8 years, and that is like a lot of money when we're talking $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month that you have to come up with. I mean, if you have to do that for 6 years or 8 years, that's a heck of a long period of time.
So this part of the wealth and health, it kind of almost sounds like preventative care, right? Let's talk about long-term care now, even if you don't believe that you need it at this moment. We're seeing people living longer now. Is it cost prohibitive when we're looking at long-term care? I remember 10, 20 years ago, individual long-term care policies, incredibly expensive. And the rates could double and triple over time. So
the products have changed significantly for a couple of reasons, but there's fewer carriers that are in the individual long-term care marketplace. We talk to our clients a lot about what do they call a hybrid policy, but yeah, cost always can be an issue. You have to plan for that cost. And the younger you are when you plan for that, the better. You don't want to wait till it's too late. It's just like with your beneficiaries. You do it while you're young. As you said, we're not getting healthier as we get older. So if you plan for these things, you include the cost, if it's an insurance premium, let's build it into that plan to make sure that that somebody else is responsible for that cost instead of you pulling it out of your retirement accounts or what have you.
And that's why we put this Retire Smart roadmap together, folks. If you pick up the phone right now and dial the phone number that you see on your screen, it's 833-308-5200. You'll be able to sit down with Nick, with myself and our team, and we'll take you through that planning process to see how you may be able to protect yourself from a long-term care event. I know that there's people sitting out there saying, wow, I've never thought about this before. I've never understood what my options are with Medicare. If you've never thought about that, this is a great opportunity for you to pick up the phone, give us a call, come in and visit with us, and let's talk about these things, because then we can create a custom tailored roadmap for you. So pick up the phone and give us a call.
We're going to take a very short break right now, but call the phone number that you see right here, 833-308-5200, or you can use the QR code on the bottom of the screen so you can schedule an appointment right away on your... Pick up your phone. You're sitting there. You're watching the program. You know that you want to get help with your retirement planning needs. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner right now. It's your wealth and health. Let's take care of it today. Or call the phone number right here, 833-308-5200. More Retire Smart Maryland right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back. We are talking today about retirement planning and the risks that you need to be looking out for yourself. We're talking also about a retirement checkup, if you will. This has been a volatile year in the markets, and by volatile, I mean a bad year in the markets. Yeah. And it's been one of the worst years in over a decade and a half right now. Bonds and stocks both not doing well, one of the worst correlated years in over 4 decades together. This is the time to do a risk assessment, to get a risk checkup. Why do you think it's so important?
You don't want to get to retirement and lose a lot of money right before you retire and then realize, oh, I can't retire or I'll have to go back to work. Okay. And so it really starts with understanding how much risk is in your portfolio. Maybe you're sitting at home thinking, hey, I thought I had a conservative portfolio, but I've already lost over $100,000 or $150,000 this year. How is that possible in a conservative portfolio? And so you need to be able to understand risk. Nick, talk a little bit about how we've been able to help our clients understand risk.
Right. So, I mean, we talked about this earlier, the 60-40 split stocks to bonds. It's having the worst year since 1936. And most people don't understand when they come in how their portfolio is constructed. How, as you said, how could I have lost $100,000 or $150,000 being in a conservative portfolio? So what we like to do is start from the beginning. We plug in all of your positions in your portfolios, and we assess the level of risk that you're taking and what your portfolio can do in a worst or best case scenario. We always want the best, of course, but right now we need to know what the worst is. So we're going to verify, plug in all your positions, and tell you how much risk you're likely or you do have and how much loss you could potentially incur. And it's an eye-opener, but it's part of that Retire Smart roadmap. It's part of your wealth and health checkup, right? It's making sure that you're not taking too much risk.
No different than when you get a stress test from your doctor. We do a financial stress test, which shows you these best and worst case scenarios.
Are there ways that you both have been able to help protect your clients from the 30% loss in the stock market? Or have they taken the same losses as the rest of America?
So, you know, we talk so much about diversification. It's a very kind of hot word, especially in a year like this year. But when we think about diversification, we actually think about it a little bit differently. We look at money in terms of how many buckets of money do you have? And so when I talk about money in buckets, I'm talking about green bucket, money that is safe, secure, that we can't lose. And then we have red bucket money, which has a little bit of risk. Well, what we've been able to do is show you how we can move some money from your risky bucket to your safe bucket and have that really generate income for you to give you peace of mind in retirement, but also reduce your overall risk. And when we go back to this health and wealth kind of connection, that, you know, I wrote a book on this last year.
You did? You wrote the book on it, literally.
Yeah, I wrote the book on it. It's literally called Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth. It's your prescription for income generation, tax management, and financial peace of mind. I wrote a chapter in this book about risk management and diversification and planning for bucketing in retirement. So important.
Yeah, it's important to have a perspective that covers all your bases. You know, the diversification, not having all your eggs in one basket. Some people take that a little too far and they've got all their money spread out among 20 banks. It's not so much about that. It's about how much growth can I get from some of my money, but protecting it from downside. and principal protection, which a lot of people don't understand how important that can be. In a market like we've experienced over the last year or so, it's important to have a good balance of things that will grow over time, keep up with inflation, but also protect you so you don't have to, you don't lose sleep at night worrying about, am I going to lose 30%? Because you've taken some of that risk off the table.
Remember, you say this all the time, that losses hurt more than gains help.
Oh, yeah. And especially if we're that year or two before retirement, or if we've just gotten into retirement, because this brings up a concept of sequence of returns. If we're pulling out money right now, the markets have gone down 30%, you've got to make up not only what you've taken out, but then the loss in the market itself.
Exactly. I mean, the old saying on Wall Street always was that we wanted to buy low and sell high, right?
Yeah.
And if the market's down and you're taking money out, you're not buying low and selling high. You're doing the exact opposite. Not only are you losing money, but you're compounding that loss and locking it in by taking withdrawals. And so that makes it almost impossible in a lot of cases to recover. And so wouldn't you want to get ahead of that and understand how much risk you're taking and really try to de-risk your portfolio potentially before it's too late? I mean, because once you've already lost the 20 or 30%, it may be too late to recover.
Nick, as we were saying, we only have about a minute and a half left in today's program, but are you willing to take a look at another financial advisor's work to see if that's the right alignment for somebody? Do you mind doing a second opinion?
Absolutely. I mean, we repeat this all the time. We're advisors, right? But we're not the right fit for everybody. But when you come in, we're going to help you poke holes in what you might already have. If we can show you and put you on a better footing when you leave our office, we think it's time well spent.
So it's a great opportunity, folks. It's the last chance for today's show to pick up the phone, give us a call. It's 833-308-5200. If you're concerned that you've lost $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 this year already, and you want to get an evaluation of how to correct that potentially, it's a great opportunity for you to pick up the phone. Give us a call. Come in for that complimentary retirement visit with Nick, myself. And as an added bonus for anyone who comes into the office and sits down with us, I'll make sure that you leave the office with a complimentary copy of the book, Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth.
Nick, Prashant, thank you so much for talking about wealth and health today and solutions. Get your retirement prescription by calling into the phone number right now. You get a complimentary copy of the book, and you can start your own Retire Smart Guide Map. Call 833-308-5200. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week.